Welcome to your Strength Coach podcast. Is that the new name? I'm not entirely sure. Comments below or send them in a postcard. Episode 27, Maintaining Power or Developing Power when Injured as an Athlete. God, that's such a catchy title. So good.
She's taken down in capsizing increments. Should have more take her medicine. She goes for some more.
Welcome to episode 27. Apologies if you don't like country music, but I'm trying to make it my one-man mission to promote the White Buffalo because I think he's amazing. Anyway, that aside, onto the question. Today is Wednesday the 12th of August 2015. This is take 2. I just got a phone call and it totally threw me off. So I should probably put my phone in airplane mode while I'm doing these because it totally throws me out of rhythm. This is going to be a double episode. So I'm going to do 2 episodes today because Thursday I can't record as per usual. I'm going to do I got a really good question a while ago from Adam asking about knee tendinopathies hopefully more specific patella knee tendinopathy. There is actually a training program you can do to really help the symptoms of a knee tendinopathy. Which I will share with you, are the secrets, the 5 weird secrets of how to treat a knee tendinopathy with heavy weights, and why physical therapists hate me. Both questions come from episode 26 under the YouTube comments. Still haven't received it. I've received a couple of emails and a couple of Facebooks, but it tends to mostly be on the YouTube. So today, the first episode, which is the one we're listening to right now, we're going to answer Akival's question. Hope that's how you pronounce that name. Hey Mark, something you said about being unable to do snatches due to shoulder pain got me thinking. Is it possible to maintain or develop explosive strength for a recreational athlete recovering from a shoulder injury that prevents any cleans, snatches, or push presses with a bar? You will be glad to hear that the answer to this is a resounding yes. Quite a lot of the players that I deal with I don't do cleans, don't do snatches. Some of them might do clean pulls, and some of them are our most explosive guys. So yes, it is very easy to develop power without doing cleans and snatches. First of all, I'm not going to spend too long on it, but I'm just going to explain quickly where kind of the power training fits within the training of an athlete, and methods that you can use to develop each of the aspects. So if you look at the force velocity curve, and I'll post up a picture as the video on the YouTube. So there's different aspects of the force velocity curve. First of all, there's maximal strength, which acts as your capacity. So similar to fitness training, it's the maximum strength is the aerobic ability of strength training. It basically determines how far down you can go on the line. People, for instance, people who have good velocity characteristics, they're naturally quite fast. If they have poor force characteristics, as in they're slow, as in they're weak, if they develop their force characteristics, they will automatically be able to run faster, jump higher, because they'll be able to express those gains very easily because they've got good velocity-based characteristics, so they sprint and jump well, but they may not necessarily squat or deadlift well or express maximal force well. So someone like me, who's the other end of the scale, who expresses force very well, so is relatively strong in a maximal force capacity, like I can squat and deadlift reasonably well, certainly in comparison to an athletic population, I do that very well. My velocity characteristics aren't very well. I don't sprint very fast, I don't jump very high. If I was to spend time on those characteristics, like the velocity characteristics, then I would get a good turnover and I would get a lot of gain from that sort of training because I have good force characteristics, but poor velocity characteristics. So those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum as regards to people's abilities. They don't really, within sport, you don't come to that kind of, you will come across people with good velocity characteristics and poor force characteristics a lot more than you will vice versa. In my time, I've probably come across one athlete probably that had good force. They were strong, but they were slow and they didn't jump very well. Due to the kind of the training that they get exposed to, they do get exposed to a lot of velocity-based training. Basically, what sport is: sprinting, change of direction, jumping, basically what you would consider athletic endeavor, they do a lot of that kind of training, whereas they don't necessarily do a lot of force training. What you'll see with like powerlifters is you'll see the archetypical force rich, velocity poor kind of athlete. So that's the maximum strength end, and that's the velocity end. So the maximum strength is like squatting, deadlifting, benching, chin up, basically heavy, slow resistance training. But you're tending to move it fast, whatever that means. And then you strength speed, and then strength speed's more like your clean pulls, snatch pulls, possibly heavy push presses, heavy like squat cleans, squat snatches, like real heavy kind of maximal loading on that. Although the snatches and the cleans kind of sit more on the speed strength, which is next down. So that's power cleans, power snatches, throws, weighted sprints, that sort of thing. That sits in the speed strength. And then you get speed, which is sprinting, jumping, plyometrics. There are more intricacies, like there's jumps come in at a certain end, sprint comes in at a certain end, and then ballistic movement, throwing, as right at the very far end of the force velocity curve. So as a throwing athlete, you need to develop the entire spectrum out to ballistic movement. As a like a weighted throwing athlete, so like a shot putter or a javelin thrower or something like that. As a more field-based sport athlete, you probably only need to go from the force, like from the maximum force down to like the speed element. You probably don't need to do so much of the throwing activities, although they are good because they can encourage really natural triple extension and natural ballistic movement of the lower body, which can be quite difficult to do with a barbell. As anyone who's tried to learn the snatch or the clean and jerk will understand, it's not a very natural movement, although it is a very valuable movement within athletic training, because it incorporates a very high velocity component, it incorporates a very high load component, and it most importantly involves a ballistic component, which you don't get with weight training unless you do squat jumps. And hello to the answer. So basically what we look at, if you have, let's say you're further down the rehab side of things, you're out of the sling, you're doing your rehab, maybe you've reintroduced upper body strength training and you're at 70%, 80% capacity or whatever, but maybe you're getting impinged when you go into the external rotated position of the catch, maybe you're impinged when you catch clean, maybe you can't jerk, whatever the repair was on your shoulder, or whatever, if there hasn't been a surgical repair, whatever the impingement is on your shoulder, you can't comfortably do that, which is what I'm referring from your question, you can't do. So here's something you can do. You can, of course, can train for maximal strength easily. So you can squat, deadlift, box squat, core squat within your program happily. Sweet, just train that as normal. You can do strength speed quite easily. Clean pulls, snatch pulls, like lighter, sort of 70 to 80% efforts with box squats and squats. Squats like trying to be explosive with squats from pins. That sort of work will do for strength speed, so there's no need to do any weightlifting there. And then when you get into the speed strength kind of things, I'm assuming you don't have access to sleds, but if you do, sprint sleds are a fantastic way of developing this quality, probably the best if you're involved in a sprinting sport. Squat jumps with a barbell, great exercise, used by a lot of athletes for good reason. It's very easy to learn. Put a barbell. Can you jump? Yes. Can you bend at the knee? Can you put a barbell on your back? Yes, you can do squat jump straight away. You can load it as well, reasonably heavy. It's not really a natural thing to do. You probably don't want to do much more than like 50% of your 1RM squat in a jump squat. I definitely would load the spectrum. Don't just stay at like 20-30%. Where the peak mechanical power is, which is complete nonsense, lies, because every different exercise has different peak mechanical powers, but you don't train to produce peak mechanical power, you train to increase thresholds. That's a separate topic, and I'm just going on a little bit of a rant there, so probably stop. So you're looking at within your squat jump program, or you can do a trap bar jump, or you can do even like a clean pull jump or a snatch pull jump, both great exercises I haven't mentioned. You can do it heavy, so you can say maybe 50% is the threshold, 50% of whatever your RM is your threshold for the speed strength characteristic, and then when you go over 50%, you just perform the exercise as it's intended. So a squat jump becomes a squat, a clean pull jump becomes a clean pull, a snatch pull jump becomes a snatch pull, a trap bar jump becomes a trap bar deadlift. Dead easy. But when you get under that 50%, you look at doing the ballistic movement, so you perform a jump within that, and then you treat it like you would. So maybe you do 5 sets of 5 at 40% RM, 5 sets of 4 at 45% RM, 5 sets of 3 at 50% RM, and just cycle that in 3 weeks. And if you have a tendo unit, which I'm assuming you probably don't, you could use that to get peak powers or get mean velocities or peak velocities from your training, and you can use that as a gauge. So you can actually use the same weights in your training and actually gauge how your power is going. But it's good to train along a spectrum within the kind of speed strength rather than just training at one end, which typically people do. So you can do that, and then the natural progression from that is, assume you probably won't be able to do med ball throws, but if you can do med ball throws, like overhead toss, is probably the best one, or a single arm toss, like a keg toss or something like that. Any kind of throwing, really, overhead throwing that encourages that triple extension, and then box jumps, depth jumps, jumps over hurdles, plyometrics basically, and then just typical kind of speed training, so sprints, 10, 20, 30 meter sprints, depends on what sport you do, what you'll do within that scenario. But there's like a really comprehensive toolbox of exercises you can use to really develop power and speed quite easily without using the Olympic lifts. Why we would use the Olympic lifts is, as priorly stated, that they just offer a lot of gain within one kind of exercise battery. Like if all you did would be clean and squat within your program, you have a pretty good program there. Like you need to do other kinds of power training, like lighter power training, higher velocity training. But if you just clean and squatted, you probably get about 80% of the way there, as regards your actual athletic performance. So like the strength power aspect of your athletic performance, obviously there's a whole lot of things you need to do and can be done very well. Other than just do clean and squats, so they're both pretty cool. So hopefully that answers your exercise. Hopefully that answers your question fairly comprehensively. As always, questions, comments, please leave them below. Like and subscribe. I will be releasing this podcast as an actual podcast sometime in the near future. I've got a couple of launch strategies I'm trying to put together. I'll hopefully have a better view of that after the weekend as to what I'm doing with that. So if you want to listen to this on your phone, which is, let's be honest, is the better way to do it, using Podcatcher or iTunes or whatever you use, Android Master Race checking in, whatever you use to listen to these things on, would be sweet. Yeah, so rambling aside, I'll be back with you very shortly as I record the answer to the next question. Until next time, this is Mark, signing out.
Soon she will pray. Today's tomorrow, tomorrow's today. She tests with herself announced. And she's down at the bar, taking some shots.